Hello and welcome to the FilmSetGeek.com podcast. Interviews with experts across all disciplines of film and TV production. Sponsored by Axis Grip Hungary, professional aerial filmography and stabilised rig and grip services. I'm Steve Collison and my guest today is producer Dora Nedeczky. Dora is a producer at Movie Bar Productions based at their Budapest, Hungary office and has been working in film and TV for over 10 years. With around 40 IMDb credits to her name, covering producer, production manager, production coordinator, and production assistant roles across many different film and TV projects, from independent short films to Hollywood productions. And we are delighted to have her drop by today to talk to us. Welcome, Dora.
Hello there.
So please could you describe the role of the producer in your own words?
Of course. Producer is the creative partner of the director who holds the whole project together as a coherent whole thing from potentially the very first idea until the distribution. There are different type of producers, but this is how I try to do it. This is how I feel when I can get the most out of myself to help the production and to make the film.
Excellent, and that encompasses really every facet of the making the film.
Yes, script development. So from the idea, script development, pre-production, production, post-production, distribution, including film festivals, cinema, getting a sales agent, which is a little bit before the process, but selecting the best possible collaborating people next to the director, the HODs. Yes. So pretty much everything.
Okay, thank you. So I'm keen to talk a little bit about your career first, then get into some of the specifics of your role as a producer. So how did you get into the film business?
I think I got interested in film when I was 10, actually, because I got my first TV, and it was the golden age of music video. So I was just glued on MTV, and I was exposed to the amazing work of Chris Cunningham, Michel Gondry,
Spike Jonze,
exactly, Jean-Baptiste Mondino, Jonathan Glazer, and this is how I grew up, and just gradually I was more drawn to more experimental and more art house, more art based moving images.
Yes.
And then it was obvious to me that I want to write about films. I wanted to be a film critique. That's why I went to the film university. The ELTE, the film studies. Yes. So I have a background in film theory and history, and I had a couple of publications as well. Yeah. But then I had this urge of just doing something practical as well, and back then I didn't know what that was. And then I came across to be a PA, I guess, or a production coordinator in an info studio back in 2006, next to András Muhi. And first it was just gonna be
in Budapest in Hungary.
Yes. Yeah. András Muhi is known most recently for being one of the producers for on Body and Soul.
Okay, yeah.
And that was
which was the Hungary's
Oscar contender.
Yeah, Oscar contender. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So I was going to be only working there for 2 weeks to help them out with the governmental applications, because they always had many. Yeah. They always had a lot of projects, and it was wonderful. Yeah. And then obviously I quitted my retail job that I've been doing next to the university, and I stayed there, and that's how it started. And then from 2009 I was working with Ferenc Pusztai and at KMH Film, and that was the year when he had 3 feature films at the Hungarian Film Week, which was incredible.
Yeah.
So I feel really lucky to be the part of the beginning of his career, because he had a different background from the producers that were big at the time.
Yes.
And he's a hard worker, and he's really, really, really inspiring.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then after that, after KMH, where did you?
I worked internationally. I was in London for a little bit. I managed to work at Partisan Films, which is Michel Gondry's company. So for me, that was a dream come true.
And when was that?
In 2012.
2012, yeah.
Yeah, and shortly after, I decided that I will focus on my own projects, and try to become a full-time producer, which was an ambitious thing.
So that's when you came back. You came back to Hungary.
Yes, I came back to Hungary.
And that would have been around 2014 or
13.
2013.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And that's when, as someone who's trying to focus on their own stuff, it required a lot of sacrifices.
Yeah.
So to be alive, that's when I actually started working for big international projects.
Yeah.
And it was really inspiring to work next to, for instance, big producer.
Yes.
Ildikó Kemény.
It
was really, really inspiring, and I was exposed to how big productions worked with a big budget.
Yeah.
And I was assistant producer many times in these things, but sometimes when it was an even a bigger production, then that I was like a cast PA or something. But my take on these freelance jobs was always that I was always able to somehow immerse all that practical knowledge, what I learned there as to exploit it as a producer. Like, for instance, I learned tremendously about actors, and I realized that actors, they have to be treated as how they want to be treated, because they're on screen, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it was 2013. I was working really close to the Hercules actors.
And that's
John Hurt.
The production company is Ildikó's it's
No, it was the other one.
Yeah, what's the name of the
It's Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic, that's it. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it was, and it was a partly English, Norwegian project. So it was great. It was really. István Szabó came to the set once.
Oh yeah?
Yes,
okay.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then this is working in tandem. So this is you pursuing your own projects, but then also working within the.
Yes, which was really. If I'm looking back, I don't understand how I survived. Actually, it was really, really intense because I wasn't just. So at the time, I had like a permanent collaborator that I worked with for over 5 years.
Yeah.
A Hungarian-Romanian writer-director, Christina Grosán, and we did like 4 short films together. And at the time, we were prepping our second short, which was connected to the Sarajevo Film Festival. So like during my training programs, which are normally really competitive and selective, I met her and I managed to get financing for our short film, which was shot in Sarajevo. It was financed by the Sarajevo Film Festival, and then it was screened in front of 3,000 people at the Sarajevo Film Festival, and we won the main prize of our category. So throughout the production and the pre-production of that, I was working as a PA, and
Yes.
I mean, I remember getting calls from my director about how like the post-production is like, we really have to do something about it, because the sound person who was assigned is not, we have to do something about it. And I was just like, sorry, I have to go. I was like literally standing there in the 40 degrees Celsius with like 15 lunch boxes, and I was like, yeah, I'm on the top of everything. Yeah. Copy that.
Yeah.
that was intense.
Oh, right.
But I learned a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
I learned a lot, and then in at the same time we started developing our first feature, and through that I was able to participate in many the biggest script development workshops in Europe, and to meet the most inspiring and most influential tutors, heads of film festivals, heads of development programs, script writers, directors, and also, you know, fellow filmmakers and fellow young producers, and it was really, really influential.
Excellent. And then when were you able to go dedicated, go 100% into your own production work and movie bar productions?
Well, so I was a complete one-woman show from 2012, end of 2012 until end of 2016.
Got it. Yeah.
And I spent the year 2016 with the biggest producers workshop. It's called the EAVE Producers Workshop. Yeah. It's a really competitive international training. It's actually worldwide. Yeah. Wide. It's about professional development and project development. Got it. It's throughout the year, and it has 3 residential workshops, and I received a scholarship from them, and I also received a grant from the Hungarian Film Fund for my training. Yeah. So throughout 2016, I was focusing on that, and I was focusing on my project, which I was developing over there, and it was Benjamin Cantu's project called For Real, and we developed it together for 1.5 years, and we had script development sessions, which I was creatively involved in the project, and
excellent, and
it was beautiful. So that was the first workshop that it was only for producers, and that was the biggest benchmark in my career.
Yes.
That's when the main premises of that workshop is to really put producers on their own paths.
Got it.
And and sometimes it's hard, because as like any good training program, it breaks you first.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there was drama.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Ooh.
Sure.
And you know, it's not just about your professional lives.
Yes.
It's about work-life balance.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
It's and about like I learned a lot about the role of the producer, that it's okay to have sometimes a dynamic relationship with our role.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I learned that you know, like having a confrontational disputes with our creative partners is completely normal. That's how you get, you know, results out of stagnating situations.
Sure.
And that being a producer is the art of waiting, and being a producer is to have abuse as our second name.
Okay.
Hardcore stuff like that.
We're not encouraging abuse, but it's saying that it might need to
from the directors.
Tough skin, basically.
Yes, film funds. Yeah, it's a rough thing. Yeah. So that was when I was focusing solely on my career and on my long-term plans, and it was clear to me that that I really want to have partners.
Yes.
Because economically and psychologically, it's much better. And then we found each other with Movie Bar Productions,
great.
Esther Turan and Vicky Trepper, and then it was just a real match.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we are three female producers in this company now, and things started moving really quickly now.
Great. And then so on a day-to-day at the moment, then you've got a portfolio of films at different stages.
We have a slate of projects. Yes.
Got it. And you're looking at the pre-production on some, development on others, and then also at the end, right at the end, distribution.
Yeah, we are finishing our big international project. It's called Swoon.
Yeah.
It's we did the production in Hungary for that. And it's a Swedish production, and it's going to come out in September.
Yeah.
And we're doing the festival works for Field Guide to Evil, our art house horror.
Yeah, which Peter Strickland has a segment.
Yes, that's what we did here.
Yeah.
And exactly a year ago, actually.
Yes.
Exactly a year ago, we were at the second date of shoot.
Yeah.
Day of shoot. And
April or May 2017. Yeah.
Yeah. And we produce our own content that we developed ourselves.
Brilliant.
Which is BP Underground, which is a documentary series about underground subcultures in the 90s and 2000s in Budapest.
Yes.
And also we have a bigger project that we're at the beginning of. We're in the second draft. We're writing the second draft of the script.
Yeah.
And it's funded by the Film Fund, so it's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
And we're prepping a short film. It's called Karan, and it's by the director Attila Damokos and the DOP Marcel Nagy, and it's going to be shot on black and white 35. It's an experimental short. We have Anna Marie Czech as the lead, and it's going to be 6 minutes, and it's going to be one take, and I'm really, really excited about that. I think it has great potential on festivals, and also for almost 2 years I'm working on this project. It's a hybrid documentary by the writer-director Noémi Varga. It's called King of Fashion. It's about Tamás Király, and also I'm still doing the festivals for my short documentary that premiered in Berlin and Sundance. It's called The Rabbit Hunt. It's gonna after all these big festivals, it's gonna screen in Karlovy Vary, which it was really not expected, because that's not how the windows work, but we got like an out of competition screening as they have a Texan showcase this year, so I'm really, really excited about that.
Fantastic. Yeah. And you've just come back from South by Southwest, or in last month you were out in
2 months.
In Texas.
It was 2 months ago.
2 months ago. Yeah.
2 months ago I was there in the hot weather, which I really enjoyed, because back then it was like -20 in Budapest in March. Yeah. But also we with Movie Bar we have some other feature film projects lining up, and we're doing the partial prepping for them, and that's our profile basically. That for 14 years now, Movie Bar is focusing on larger scale service production, but also production and co-production, and also TVCs and music videos. So it's it's a full service and a full scale thing now, which is really exciting.
Based in Budapest and Hungary.
And LA, actually.
Oh, in LA as well.
Yeah, so we have 2 offices now.
Yeah. Very good. All right. And what would you say you enjoy most about working in film or as a producer? What's the one thing that just...
Well, I think to me it's the creative involvement, and I love when if the director, feels that they have to be a little more confident, or like they searching themselves for a little bit.
Yeah.
I love to come in and have ideas.
Yes.
And I think I'm quite an empath, so it works really well with directors. It's a yes.
Yeah.
And so I love helping them, and even like knowing what they need.
Yes.
Before they need them.
Got it.
Before they need it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good with artistic references.
Yes.
And bring in collaborators for them. So in my history, I had various experiences about like me finding the best editor for the person.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
And then for like 10 years now they're working together, and only with that, like the sound person, the art director, the costume designer, which I'm really, really happy about, because I'm a bit of a, I don't know, gut feeling ninja. I think I understand like who would get on with who, and I really want to continue doing that, because it seems really helpful, and I want to help them. So that, being helpful and being inspiring.
Yes.
That's a source of inspiration. I think that's what's...
And it's an area with so many different groups and people involved that being that kind of person is, it's the right environment. It's you can really thrive, because there's so many people involved. So.
Yeah.
Very good. So then let's get into some of the specifics of the role. So as a producer, at what point do you typically get involved with a production, and how do productions come to you?
It varies. I had events for all stages.
Right.
Sometimes I was there when the actual idea
right.
came up.
Yeah.
Sometimes I come in when the concept is there, but the script is not really there.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's like the last bit of the script, and then it's the pre-production.
Yeah.
And sometimes I come in. I had experiences like for instance with my documentaries that they already shot it,
right, yeah,
and then like they still wanted me to produce it, but rather to advise them with the editing,
I see,
with and with the distribution and festivals.
Got it.
And
yeah, okay. And so let's just take, for example, at the idea stage. What might your involvement be then? Would it be really discussing through with the writer or the writer-director to expand on it, to lead them to work with them to expand that to something bigger? How do you get involved at that point?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. If it's an idea, preferably it's not an idea, but it's already a synopsis. So it's something more concrete, something that we can actually, protect the rights of.
Okay.
So I draw a strategy about the development.
Got it.
I try to influence the writer director or the writer to to the appropriate directions.
Yeah.
And just to advise, and my recently I was invited to be one of the tutors in the Pustnik screenwriters residency program, and I was really lucky to be advising first time writers and writer directors about the process. Okay. And I was together with Oana Giurgiu, one of Romania's most amazing female producer also.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned about how all these producers developing scripts, and I realized that my method is really a method. I thought that I don't have a method, but I do have a method.
Yes.
It's an intuitive method.
Okay.
It's about, just like trying to based on my film viewing experience as the audience, as someone who reads, as someone who just like talks and
lives and breathes
things. So it's an intuitive thing, and also like throughout my workshops I learned some development skills that I know that we have to fulfill this and this, and these are the sequences, the 3 acts. So I know the basics, but beyond that, it's my gut feeling, and that's when, if I take on a project from a very, very early stage, it's something that I'm really, really interested in, because you cannot do it otherwise, because you're looking into like 3-4 years of work at least.
For sure. You've really got to. It's got to be something that you want to.
Yes.
That you want to back, that you want to go with. Okay.
Absolutely.
And then in terms of, let's talk about if it's a screenplay. So then you've got the screenplay, you've got the script. Talk about perhaps what happens at that initial stage, and you feel that it's the right thing for you to go with. Then what starts happening from that point onwards? Okay, right. Okay.
Financing.
Okay, but that's
where it's always tough. But
that's in tandem with knowing from the script what level you can already get a feel, and through discussion with the director if it's different
from the synopsis, even from the idea, even
you can
you
get a sense of what sort of budget is going to be required.
And also I think these days writer directors have to be a little production savvy, or at least film industry savvy a little bit, because they have to know their fields, as in at least when they're at the beginning, they should pay attention to the production possibilities. So when there's a synopsis, like I'm trying to let the writer know that maybe it has more possibility like this and that.
Okay.
And I mean,
let's not shoot it in space. Let's do it. Okay.
Just simple things like that.
Sure. Okay.
Or like 16 instead of 35.
Okay.
I'm trying to take a step back and think about like the situation as a whole, and sometimes even bring in not obvious partners to the financing.
Yes. So then let's say financing's been secured. Mm-hmm. What happens next? How are you enabling the script to production phase? If it's an own content, if it's our own production, and we're the delegate producers, this is the stage when we're reaching out to sales agents, right? Okay,
because you want to secure a world-class sales agent that would make the whole process much smoother and easier and safer. And then you shoot the film, you prep the film, you shoot the film,
and you involved with all of those discussions and decision points all the way through from script to production. So you're discussing with the director. Well, you're working with
a line producer, a production manager, and yes, I mean, and that's when we have to oversee the whole production and create the workflow,
right?
And that includes the post-production as well.
Sure.
We have meetings with all the HODs, and involving the mixer as well, and the editor.
Yeah, and so HODs, heads of department, and you're how hands-on do you get? So let's say there's a location manager, but you're also involved with those discussions as well.
It depends. Depends. Sometimes it's good to just for the dynamics to have the crew that to have the crew work by themselves,
Yes.
under the leadership of the line producer,
Yeah.
or the production manager,
Yes.
if it's a smaller project.
Yeah.
And then I only have to come in when there's a decision making
Yeah. Got it.
situation,
Yes.
and when the director needs me, because it can just be too much when the producer is just like, obviously I should know about everything, but I should somehow be invisible a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So
in my experience, that's better.
What can those big decisions tend to be that will involve
Well,
you? So
for
if
instance,
are they
with
usually
Peter-
financial?
Yeah, and financial, and therefore creative.
Okay. Yeah.
So we, just to, for instance, with Peter's film, it's called The Cobbler's Lot. It's the segment of the Field Guide to Evil.
Peter Strickland, yeah.
And it's set, like a large part of the film is set in a forest.
Okay.
And he wanted to have a really stylized forest.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to build the forest.
Yes. Yeah.
But then there was also a possibility of shooting outside, but it was really expensive to build it.
Okay.
But then it's expensive to shoot outside as well. So we had like a week when we were just having meetings about this constantly. Yes. And then eventually we built it.
Oh, really?
We built the forest.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then it's and for each of those departments, then there's a budget assigned to each of those departments. So then really if
preferably
right, so then the question doesn't really, if they're working within that budget, then it doesn't come to you. But if they're
like sometimes especially when it's an art house film, so it's a limited budget.
Yes.
We just have to give the departments their freedom.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really tricky because if we don't have money, and then we don't have that much money, and we don't have that much time.
Yeah.
It gets really tricky, and sometimes the departments have to they can't give you an estimate before certain tests are being run, and that's when it gets interesting.
Yeah.
When all the departments are like, like the budget is connected to all of the departments, but we don't know one department. So like, it's a puzzle.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a puzzle.
Yeah. And then what is your role during production? Are you often there on every day of the set?
I'm trying.
On every day?
Yes. I mean, I'm involved. I'm really, really involved.
Yeah.
But what would be wiser, and what I'm trying to do in the future, that as a producer to be involved less in the day-to-day production, but more involved in the strategy, and more involved in the future and the post-production of the project already, because I really have to be one or even two steps further than the whole thing.
Of course.
And at the same time, just make sure that the actor's okay, really okay.
Yeah.
Make sure that the director's okay in the first place.
Yeah.
Because make sure they have Turo Rudi
and
stuff like that, and water, vitamins.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm aiming for. But it is really tricky not to be caught up in the present.
Yeah.
So I'm working on like to develop in a way where I can perfectly balance this.
Yeah. And it sounds like that you're a producer with a huge. Well, you bring a lot in terms of the creative aspect. So you're involved with that from beginning to end, and so that encompasses, by the sounds of it, also the editing process. You're there to be involved depending on the project, and then. In terms of that, and we've mentioned it already to some extent, but festivals and getting the film out there, how does that piece come together for you?
For over 10 years, like 9 years now.
Yeah.
I'm visiting international workshops. on a yearly or like a quarter yearly basis.
Yeah.
So throughout this time, I got to know a lot of festival representatives, and throughout this time, I got to know how the windows work, how basic distribution works.
Yes.
So I know what the profile is for the biggest festivals.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to a specific film, I have a distribution strategy. I have a primary, secondary, tertiary targeted festivals.
Yes.
And sometimes it's the topic that gives you an idea what type of festivals you want to go into, like music documentary festivals.
Got it. Yeah.
So it's always like trying to benchmark the film when it comes to marketing a little bit.
Yeah.
So you have to benchmark the film. You have to know what your director wants. If they want to go to Cannes, like how can you make that happen?
Yeah.
The chances are always really small, but then how do we time it? How do we hold the film back if we need to?
Yeah.
It's really like it's a strategical role, and when I have to, I reach out personally to festival directors.
Yes.
I know which festival has which programmer, and I'm trying to catch them on markets and to just be aware of what they are looking to get, or like what if they're moving somewhere else, like focus wise, or
yes. And what's the main outcome of or the aim of good or of success at festivals? Is it distribution on one hand, particularly if it's a feature, but what other benefits can come with good festival success or coverage?
Of course, every biggest festivals can do a great deal with the promotion of the film.
Got it.
And when you have a feature film, for instance, you should have the sales agent before your biggest festival, because that's how you secure the big festival.
Got it.
Appearance, a premiere.
Yes.
And then it's you have the windows, like it's A category film festivals, it's the film festivals, and then you have the potential cinema release, and that's where and cinema and TV and VOD and the likes. That's where you can have the revenues.
Got it. And I guess for short films, then festival success allows then perhaps it'll unlock financing for the later for bigger projects that those writers and directors
that's
get
it.
to work
That's
with.
the aim. And short films are a really good somehow tool to test a relationship with the director.
Yeah.
You do really see, and short films are not easy to make.
Right.
I mean, that's why I'm much more drawn to feature films, because it's almost the same amount of work.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and then you can market the feature film, and you can actually have a revenue if you're smart.
Yeah.
And it's a bigger credit, obviously, and so it's the same thing. It's just a little shorter.
Yes.
But in the amount of work, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. So thank you for that. So then, just to cover a couple other questions that I had. So where you are working as a producer and working in the industry and in Hungary, how do you see the gender balance in terms of film productions, producers, or across all creative or crew aspects of the film process? Where do you see that at the moment in Hungary?
Hungary?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, we're in a good place in terms of that. Hungary has been for quite many years now really strong in female producers and female production persons, and then companies led by females.
Yes.
And also in the technical roles, more and more cinematographers, female cinematographers are coming up, and directors wise, the film fund is getting better and better in funding first films by first and second films by female directors. So actually, and also in the incubator scheme, I think it's almost 50-50 when it comes to directors.
Yes.
And female female directors and producers are, I think, quite celebrated
Yeah.
here. In terms of the technical roles, there's definitely a development too. So I think, and also the leader of the Film Fund is a woman, and she was also listed as one of the most influential women, 50 women in the film industry lately. And so I think we have a good, strong basis on that.
Excellent. So then just one final question that I have for you. So do you have any advice to anyone who wants to get into producing?
A lot of, I think I could base an own workship on this topic, like the special tips for producers.
Yeah.
Where, have discipline, have respect.
Yeah.
Have don't take anything that personally.
Yeah.
And take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
Probably, and don't listen too much to authorities and just authority figures or authority bodies when it comes to your work, and be patient.
Yes. So finally, what next? So A Field Guide to Evil is the next production you've been involved in that we can expect to be seeing. So when might we be able to see that?
It's coming to Europe. So after South by Southwest.
Yeah.
We're showing it in Canada, which is not Europe, but then we're gonna show it in Switzerland. So both of the film festivals are niche film festivals, but on the mainstream, popular, audience friendly end.
Yes.
And they're focusing on horror and fantastic and mystery films.
Yes.
So we will have a really good company in other with other films.
Yeah.
So this is an art house mystery thriller horror.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be amongst films like that. So we're really, really excited. And I'm working on having the Hungarian premiere soon. So I'm working on the other producers of the whole film to secure the Hungarian finally. So I'm
excellent. Well, do let us know, and we'll put it up on.
I will.
We'll put it up on. We'll share it on our Facebook as well. So brilliant, cool. Well, it's been terrific to have you on the podcast today. So thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
I've been Steve Collison here with Dora Nedeczky on the FilmSetGeek.com podcast. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.